Hello everyone. This is Six Path Weeb. Welcome to my YouTube channel, where imagination reshapes the worlds we love. Today's fanfiction concept explores a powerful crossover scenario. What if Naruko trained among the Green Lantern Corps? A story where chakra meets willpower, and a shinobi's journey expands beyond the boundaries of her world into the vastness of the universe. Disclaimer. The content on this channel is created for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, let's begin. Inside a small, worn apartment lived a blonde-haired girl named Naruko. She was around 15 or 16 years old, with bright blue eyes and a gentle, determined expression. 3 soft whisker-like birthmarks rested on each of her cheeks, giving her a unique and memorable look. Her golden hair was shaggy and spiky, falling just to her shoulders. Naruko wore a blue headband marked with the symbol of her village. Over her clothes, she had a black cloak with a red stripe running down the center, and beneath it she wore a neat black and red outfit. Her gloves were fingerless, and on her left hand, a silver engagement ring rested quietly, catching the light whenever she moved. She sat cross-legged on her bed, thinking. A lot had happened since she returned to her village. She had worked hard, completed difficult missions, and helped many people along the way. She had grown stronger and more responsible, and she always tried her best to protect her friends. Even so, sometimes the others still treated her like she hadn't changed. Naruko let out a small sigh and brushed a hand through her hair. "It feels like only a few people really see me for who I am," she murmured softly. Her eyes drifted toward the clock, and suddenly widened. "I'm going to be late." In a flash, Naruko leapt to her feet and hurried out the door. She moved quickly through the village, her heart racing, not from fear, but from excitement. Today was important. Soon, she reached a quiet hill covered in soft green grass and colorful flowers swaying gently in the breeze. The sunlight painted everything in warm gold. At the top of the hill stood a woman with shoulder-length dark hair, dressed in a simple black kimono. Beside her was a large, carefully prepared bento box. Naruko slowed her pace, a smile spreading across her face. She walked up quietly behind the woman and gently placed her hands over her eyes. "Guess who?" she whispered playfully. The woman gave a small, surprised laugh before relaxing. Is it a certain whiskered blonde?" she asked, her voice light and teasing. Naruko grinned. "You got it." The woman turned around, revealing a warm, kind smile. It was Shizune. Naruko gently took her hands. "Sorry I'm late," she said, her voice softer now. "But I made it." Shizune smiled back. "That's what matters." The two of them sat together on the hill, opening the bento box and sharing the meal. They talked, laughed, and enjoyed the peaceful afternoon. The flowers swayed around them, and the world felt calm and bright. In that quiet moment, Naruko didn't feel misunderstood or overlooked. She simply felt happy. Shizune looked into Naruko's bright, ocean blue eyes and felt a warm, gentle calm settle in her heart. It was hard to believe that the energetic, orange-clad Jinan she had met years ago had grown into such a confident and kind young kunoichi. After training with Jiraiya, Naruko had become a skilled jounin, dressed in shades of red, carrying herself with both strength and grace. Yet, to Shizune, Naruko was still the same cheerful girl she had always cared for. Naruko smiled, her spiky blonde hair catching the sunlight as it framed her face. "Shizune-chan, you're thinking too much again," she said softly. Shizune blinked and laughed quietly. "Maybe I am," she admitted. I'm proud of you." Naruko rubbed the back of her head with a small, bashful grin. Hee, thanks. But I'm still me, you know." Shizune nodded. That was exactly it. No matter how much Naruko had grown, her kind heart had never changed. They sat together under a large tree, the leaves rustling gently in the breeze. It was one of their favorite places, peaceful, quiet, and far from the busy village streets. Naruko leaned back on her hands, looking up at the sky. "Do you remember when we first met?" Naruko asked. "How could I forget?" Shizune replied with a fond smile. "You were so loud and determined." "And you were always so patient with me," Naruko said. "Even when I made mistakes." Shizune shook her head gently. "You never stopped trying. That's what mattered." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't awkward, it was comfortable, like a shared understanding. Naruko turned her head and looked at Shizune with a soft, sincere expression. "Shizune-chan. I really care about you. You've always believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." Shizune felt her cheeks warm slightly, but she met Naruko's gaze with steady kindness. And I always will. Naruko's smile widened, brighter than ever. Good. Because I'm not going anywhere. Shizune laughed softly. I wouldn't want you to. The two of them stayed there for a while longer, talking about small things, sharing quiet laughter, and enjoying each other's company. There was no need for grand gestures or big promises. What they had was simple, honest, and strong. And as the sunlight filtered through the leaves above them, both Naruko and Shizune knew that their bond, built on trust, kindness, and understanding, would continue to grow, just like they had. Naruko chuckled softly at her worried fiancé and gently held her hand. Shizune-chan, please don't worry about my arm, she said in a warm, caring voice. You should be thinking about yourself and the baby, honey. Her bright eyes drifted to Shizune's still flat stomach, and her smile grew even softer. A few weeks earlier, Naruko and Shizune had discovered the joyful news. Shizune had expected Naruko to faint or panic, but instead, the cheerful blonde kunoichi had lifted her up, spun her around, and laughed with pure happiness, already dreaming about becoming a loving parent. Shizune looked down, her hand resting gently on her stomach. She knew Naruko was right, but she couldn't help worrying. She loved Naruko deeply, and caring came naturally to her. Just then, Naruko's stomach rumbled loudly, breaking the quiet moment. Naruko blushed, scratching the back of her head in embarrassment. Shizune couldn't help but giggle. How about we have lunch, Naruko-koi? Shizune said brightly. I made something special, and I'm pretty hungry too. Cooking hadn't always been Shizune's favorite activity. Back when she traveled with Tsunade, it felt like a chore, especially with all the dishes afterward. But over time, things changed. When she and Naruko began spending more time together, cooking became something she truly enjoyed. Naruko always thanked her, helped clean up, and ate every meal with such enthusiasm that it filled Shizune with happiness. Shizune turned and carefully lifted a large black bento box. The moment Naruko saw it, her eyes sparkled with excitement. If there was anything Naruko loved as much as a good bowl of ramen, it was Shizune's home-cooked meals. As the box opened, it revealed a colorful and abundant feast, steaming bowls of ramen in different flavors, fluffy white rice, sweet dengo, savory dishes, and neatly arranged rolls. Everything looked delicious and thoughtfully prepared. Naruko's mouth watered. Can we eat now? She asked eagerly, her voice full of childlike excitement. Shizune laughed gently at her expression. Naruko shook herself out of her daze, then smiled brightly at her. All right, Shizune-chan, let's eat. They both placed their hands together. Thank you for the food, they said in unison, before beginning their meal. Naruko took her first bite and immediately beamed. This is amazing, she said, her eyes lighting up with joy. Shizune watched her with a fond smile, happy to see her enjoying every bite. Naruko-koi, you really love my cooking, don't you? Shizune asked playfully. Naruko nodded eagerly. Of course. I love everything you make, especially your ramen. Shizune blushed slightly at the praise, her heart warm with happiness. Inside Naruko's mindscape. Deep within Naruko's inner world, a calm and quiet space stretched endlessly. There, she often spoke with Kurama, the wise and powerful fox spirit who shared her journey. At first, they hadn't understood each other. But over time, trust had grown between them. Naruko's determination and kindness had reached Kurama, and in return, Kurama had shared stories, wisdom, and even truths about the past. Now, they spoke not as strangers, but as companions. We've both come a long way, Naruko said gently, sitting peacefully in the glowing space. Kurama gave a slow nod. You've grown stronger, not just in skill, but in heart. Naruko smiled. She no longer carried confusion or doubt about the past. Instead, she focused on the future, on protecting her loved ones and building a life filled with warmth and understanding. Back in the real world, Naruko laughed happily with Shizune, enjoying their meal together. In that simple, peaceful moment, surrounded by care and hope, everything felt just right. And as the two shared their lunch, a new chapter of their story quietly continued, one filled with kindness, family, and bright days ahead. Naruko stood quietly in her mindscape, gazing into Kurama's large, glowing eyes. The space around them felt calm, like a still lake under a golden sky. Kurama blinked slowly, his voice thoughtful rather than harsh. Naruko, he said, what will you do when you meet the Uchiha boy again? Naruko closed her eyes for a moment, thinking carefully. Memories of her former teammate, Sasuke, drifted through her mind. They had once laughed together, trained side by side, and shared dreams of growing stronger. Things had changed, and he had chosen a different path, but Naruko still remembered who he used to be. When she opened her eyes again, they were steady and kind. "I don't know exactly what will happen," she said softly. "But I do know I don't want to lose anyone else. I want to understand him. And help him remember who he is. Even if it's difficult." Kurama studied her expression. There was no anger there, only determination mixed with hope. "You've changed," Kurama said. "You're not the same impulsive girl who rushed into everything without thinking." Naruko smiled a little. "I still act before thinking sometimes," she admitted, "but I'm learning. My ninja way means protecting bonds, not giving up on them." She thought about her friends, Sakura, Shizune, and everyone in the village. They were her strength, her reason to keep moving forward. "I want to grow stronger," she continued, "not just in power, but in heart. If Sasuke has lost his way, then I'll do my best to guide him back. And if he won't listen, I'll still make sure I don't lose myself trying." Kurama gave a quiet rumble that almost sounded like approval. "That's a difficult path," he said. "But it's a strong one." Naruko looked up, her blue eyes bright with resolve. "I'm not alone anymore," she said. "And I won't let the people I care about walk in darkness without at least trying to bring them into the light." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence felt peaceful, filled with understanding. Then Kurama let out a small, amused huff. "You've grown a lot, Naruko. It's impressive." Naruko laughed softly. "Thanks, Kurama. I still have a long way to go." And with that, the calm space around them seemed to glow a little warmer, like the beginning of a new chapter filled with hope. Naruko laughed softly, her bright voice echoing gently in the quiet space of her thoughts. She rested her chin in her hand, smiling as she remembered the day she finally stopped wearing her old orange jumpsuit. It had been puffy, a little uncomfortable, and far too bright for someone trying to move quietly. "I guess I just grew out of it," she said with a cheerful shrug. "Orange is still my favorite, but maybe a softer shade suits me better now." Inside her mind, Kurama let out a warm, rumbling chuckle. Over time, the two of them had become close friends, sharing thoughts, memories, and even quiet moments like this. "You've changed a lot, Naruko," Kurama said kindly. "Not just your clothes, your heart feels calmer too." Naruko smiled at that, her blue eyes soft with gratitude. "I think that's because I'm not alone anymore." The two sat in comfortable silence for a moment, simply enjoying each other's presence. After a while, Naruko opened her eyes and returned to the world around her. Shizune stood nearby, watching Naruko with a gentle expression. She had learned to recognize that faraway look, it meant Naruko was speaking with Kurama. Instead of interrupting, she simply waited, her hands clasped together patiently. When Naruko finally blinked back to the present, Shizune reached out and held her hand. "How was your talk?" she asked softly. Naruko smiled warmly. "It was nice. Just thinking about things." Shizune nodded, understanding more from Naruko's tone than her words. For a few moments, they stood quietly together. The breeze stirred the leaves around them, and everything felt peaceful. Then Naruko spoke again, her voice thoughtful. "Shizune-chan. Do you remember what we talked about a few months ago?" Shizune's eyes widened slightly, then softened as she nodded. "About starting a new life somewhere quiet?" Naruko nodded. "Yeah. Somewhere peaceful. Somewhere we can just be ourselves." Shizune hesitated, though her smile remained gentle. "What about your dream?" Naruko looked at her, her expression calm but certain. "My dream has changed. It's not about titles anymore. It's about happiness. About building a home, and protecting the people I care about." Shizune's heart fluttered at those words. Naruko squeezed her hands reassuringly. "We deserve a place where we can laugh every day. A place where we don't have to worry." Shizune took a deep breath, then nodded. "You're right. I want that too." A spark of excitement lit up Naruko's eyes. "I've already thought about where we could go," she said with a small, playful grin. Shizune tilted her head curiously. "Oh? Where?" Naruko's smile grew brighter. "A place not many people think about anymore. The land of Whirlpool." Shizune blinked in surprise, then smiled. "It sounds peaceful," she said. Naruko nodded, her voice full of hope. "It will be." And for the first time in a long while, both of them felt certain that a bright, gentle future was waiting just ahead. Shizune tilted her head, her expression thoughtful and a little puzzled. She tried to recall every place she had ever heard of that was connected to water, but nothing came to mind. Then she turned to her fiancé with a curious smile. Naruko. What's the land of whirlpools? I don't think I've ever heard of it, she asked gently. Naruko gave a small, knowing smile. I'm not too surprised, she replied in a calm, friendly tone. It's not a place that's talked about very often. The land of whirlpools, and its village, Uzushirogakur, were once home to the Uzumaki clan. Over time, stories about it faded, and fewer people remembered. Shizune's eyes widened in surprise. There was an Uzumaki clan? I didn't know that, she said softly. She looked down for a moment, feeling a little embarrassed that she didn't know something so important about Naruko. Naruko's expression softened. She gently lifted Shizune's chin so their eyes met again. Hey, don't feel bad, she said warmly. It's not something many people learn about. What matters is that you're here now, and we can share these stories together. Shizune nodded, her curiosity returning. Then how do you know about Uzushirogakur and the Uzumaki clan? She asked. And why isn't it more widely known? Naruko smiled, a hint of excitement in her eyes. My teacher, Jiraiya, told me about it. She believed I should understand where I come from, Naruko explained. The Uzumaki clan was special in many ways. They were known for their strong life energy, which helped them stay healthy and recover quickly. Some even had unique abilities to sense things around them or help others feel better. Shizune listened closely, her interest growing with every word. Naruko continued, her voice bright with pride. But what made the Uzumaki truly famous was their skill in Fuinjutsu, sealing techniques. Their symbol was a spiral, like a whirlpool, representing both strength and continuity. They used these techniques to protect, to store, and to create amazing things. Shizune smiled, clearly fascinated. That sounds incredible, she said. Naruko nodded. It is. And while many people today don't know much about them, their legacy still lives on in quiet ways. Stories, symbols, and the values they held, those things don't disappear. Shizune's expression softened as she looked at Naruko. I'm really glad you shared this with me, she said. Naruko grinned. Me too. It's always better when stories are shared with someone you care about. The two of them stood together, the conversation leaving them both feeling closer, as if they had uncovered a small, meaningful piece of the past, one that would continue to shine in the present. Naruko sat beneath the shade of a tall tree, her bright blue eyes sparkling as she spoke with gentle enthusiasm. A soft breeze rustled the leaves above, and the peaceful training grounds felt calm and welcoming. I've been reading a lot lately, Naruko said, smiling thoughtfully. There were many remarkable shinobi in history, each with their own unique gifts and strengths. Shizune listened closely, her curiosity growing as Naruko continued. One of them was Madara, Naruko said. She was known as one of the most talented members of her clan. Even at a young age, she showed incredible skill and focus. She could perform advanced techniques with great precision, and she had a deep understanding of how to use her energy in harmony with the world around her. Naruko paused for a moment, choosing her words carefully. She also studied many different styles, creating illusions, moving quietly, and using tools with great care and control. People often remembered her not just for her strength, but for her determination and discipline. Shizune nodded, clearly impressed. And then there was Mito Uzumaki, Naruko continued, her voice warm with admiration. She was an extraordinary kunoichi. From what I've learned, she had a kind heart and incredible healing abilities. She could help people recover and bring comfort to those in need. Her knowledge of sealing techniques was also amazing. She created methods that protected others and kept balance in the world. Naruko's smile softened. Mito believed in protecting life and helping others grow stronger in their own way. She trained hard, not just to become powerful, but to make a difference. Shizune blinked in amazement. Naruko. How did you learn all of this? Naruko chuckled lightly, scratching the back of her head. I had some help from Jiraiya-sensei and did a bit of searching on my own. There's so much history out there, it just takes patience to find it. Shizune looked thoughtful, then asked gently, why do you think no one told you before? Naruko's expression grew quiet, but not sad, just reflective. Maybe they thought I wasn't ready yet, she said. Or maybe they just didn't realize how much I wanted to learn. There was a short silence, but it felt calm rather than heavy. Then Naruko smiled again, brighter than before. But that's okay. I can keep learning on my own too. Everyone grows at their own pace, right? Shizune's face softened into a warm smile. That's true, she said. And you've already come so far. Naruko laughed lightly, her cheerful energy returning. I still have a long way to go. But I'm excited about it. Every new thing I learn feels like opening a door to something amazing. Shizune nodded, feeling inspired. I think you'll do wonderful things, Naruko. Naruko stood up, stretching her arms toward the sky. Thanks, Shizune. Let's both keep doing our best. The two shared a bright, hopeful moment under the sunlight, ready to continue their journey of learning and growth together. Flashback, 3 years ago. Shizune walked back to Tsunade's table and paused in surprise. Sitting there was Jiraiya, along with a bright-eyed blonde girl in an orange and blue outfit. The young medic tilted her head, curious about who the girl might be and why Jiraiya had appeared so suddenly. Shizune let out a small sigh to herself. Whenever Jiraiya shows up unexpectedly, something interesting always follows, she thought, glancing down at Tsunade's little pig, Tauntaun, for comfort. As she approached, she offered a warm smile. Hello, Jiraiya-sama. Who is this? She asked gently, noticing the girl happily enjoying a plate of fried catfish with great enthusiasm. Shizune couldn't help but giggle at the girl's lively appetite. Hearing the soft laughter, the girl looked up. Shizune met her gaze and smiled again, momentarily lost in thought. Her eyes are so blue, like a calm ocean, she thought with quiet wonder. Jiraiya chuckled kindly. It's good to see you, Shizune, he said. Placing a hand lightly on the girl's head, he added, this is my new apprentice, Naruko Uzumaki. Naruko beamed with a cheerful grin, and Tsunade studied her thoughtfully. There was something familiar about the girl's bright spirit. Shizune smiled. Hello, Naruko-san. I'm Shizune. It's very nice to meet you. Naruko grinned wider. Hi, Shizune. Are you the one who takes care of this lady? She asked innocently, gesturing toward Tsunade. For a brief moment, the air grew very still. Tsunade's expression shifted, and Naruko quickly realized she might have spoken too boldly. A second later, she found herself gently nudged aside as Tsunade tapped the table with a firm hand. Let's remember our manners, Tsunade said, though there was a hint of amusement in her voice. Naruko rubbed the back of her head with a sheepish smile. Oops. Sorry about that. Shizune covered her mouth, trying not to laugh at the light-hearted moment. Flashback ends. Back in the present, Shizune let out a soft laugh, drawing Naruko's attention. What's so funny? Naruko asked, tilting her head curiously. Shizune smiled warmly. I was just remembering the first time we met, she said. Naruko groaned playfully. Please don't remind me. I was so embarrassing back then, she said, though her eyes sparkled with fondness. But I guess that day wasn't so bad. I met someone really special. Shizune's cheeks turned pink. Why you think so? She asked softly. Naruko nodded with a gentle smile. Of course. To me, you're the most wonderful person in the world. Shizune looked down shyly. But what about all the other talented and kind people we know? She asked. There are so many amazing women around us. Naruko shook her head. They're all great in their own ways, she said kindly. But you're you, Shizune. And that's what makes you truly special to me. Shizune's smile returned, brighter than before. In that quiet moment, she felt a comforting warmth, like sunshine on a peaceful day, and knew that their bond was something truly precious. Naruko gazed gently into Shizune's eyes, her bright blue eyes full of warmth. You know, she said thoughtfully, everyone is wonderful in their own way. Hinata is kind, Ino is energetic, Sakura is passionate, and Temari is strong. But none of that changes how I feel. She smiled softly and reached out, holding Shizune's hands in her own. Shizune-chan, we've talked about this so many times. I don't want anyone else. I choose you, every single day. Shizune hesitated, her voice quiet. But there are so many amazing people. I don't feel as confident as they are. Sometimes I wonder why you'd choose me. Naruko tilted her head and gently lifted Shizune's chin so their eyes met again. Because you're you, she said simply. You're kind, thoughtful, and you always care about others. When I'm with you, I feel calm and happy. That matters more than anything else. A faint blush appeared on Shizune's cheeks, but this time it came with a small smile. You really mean that? Naruko nodded firmly. Of course I do. I'll always stand by you, no matter what. You don't need to compare yourself to anyone else. Shizune's smile grew, her worries easing as she leaned her head against Naruko's shoulder. Naruko wrapped an arm around her, holding her close in a comforting embrace. Do you want to watch something together? Shizune asked after a moment. Yeah, Naruko replied with a grin. Let's find something fun. They flipped through channels until they found a cheerful movie about Princess Koyuki. The two of them sat quietly, enjoying the story in each other's company. After a while, Shizune spoke again, her voice softer. Naruko. When do you think things will change? I wish we didn't have to be so careful all the time. Naruko gently placed her hand over Shizune's. I know. It's not easy. But we'll figure it out together. One step at a time. And when the time is right, we'll make things better. Shizune nodded, comforted by Naruko's steady confidence. They shared a quiet laugh when Naruko made a playful comment about Lady Tsunade's habits, and the tension in the room faded completely. After a moment, Naruko noticed Shizune growing quiet again. Hey, she said gently, what's on your mind? Shizune took a small breath. There's something I should tell you. Lady Tsunade sent Kakashi and Team 8 on an important mission. She didn't want you to worry. But I thought you should know. Naruko listened carefully, her expression calm. Instead of reacting impulsively, she simply nodded. Thanks for telling me, Shizune. I trust her judgment. And I trust you too. Shizune smiled, relieved. Naruko leaned back on the couch, still holding her hand. No matter what happens, we'll face it together. And as the movie continued to play, the two of them sat side by side, feeling safe, understood, and quietly hopeful about the future. In the world of Naruto, Shizune often found herself wishing that people would see Naruko for who she truly was now, not who she used to be. Naruko had grown so much over the years, she had become thoughtful, brave, and determined in a quiet, steady way. Yet some still assumed she would rush into things without thinking. Shizune knew better. She sighed softly, sitting beside Naruko. They still don't understand you, she said. Naruko noticed the concern in her voice and gave her a warm smile. She gently took Shizune's hand. It's okay, she said kindly. I don't need everyone to understand me right away. What matters is that I keep doing my best. Shizune smiled back, her worries easing. You always know how to say the right thing. Naruko chuckled lightly. Not always. But I try. The two spent a quiet evening together, talking about their day and sharing small laughs. Eventually, they grew tired. Naruko stretched and said, You've got a big day tomorrow. You should get some rest. And you? Shizune asked. Naruko grinned. I've got a feeling tomorrow will be busy too. But I'll be ready. They settled in for the night, comforted by each other's presence. Before closing her eyes, Shizune looked at Naruko and said softly, Just promise me you'll come back safe. Naruko nodded gently. I promise. I'll always do my best to come back. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the windows as Naruko headed out into the village. Along the way, she ran into Konohamaru. Hey, Naruko. He called excitedly. Want to see something new I've been practicing? Naruko laughed and ruffled his hair. Another time, maybe. I've got something important to take care of. But keep practicing, you're getting stronger every day. Konohamaru beamed. I will. Thanks, Naruko. Encouraged, he ran off with renewed determination. Naruko continued on her way until she reached the Hokage's office. She knocked politely. Come in, came the voice from inside. Tsunade looked up, surprised. Naruko? What brings you here? Naruko stood tall, her voice calm but firm. I heard there's a mission involving one of Orochimaru's old hideouts. If there's even a chance Sasuke is there, I want to help. Tsunade studied her carefully. This won't be easy. I know, Naruko replied. But I'm not the same person I used to be. I've learned a lot, and I want to help bring Sasuke home the right way. There was a quiet moment as Tsunade considered her words. Finally, she nodded. All right. I trust you. You'll join the team, but you'll follow the plan and work together. Naruko smiled, grateful. Of course. Thank you. As she left the office, she felt a sense of purpose settle in her heart. No matter what challenges lay ahead, she would face them with courage, kindness, and the strength she had worked so hard to build. And somewhere in the village, Shizune smiled, knowing Naruko would always do her very best. Dear YouTube family. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything and keeps this journey going. Thank you for being here. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.